tell me your name if you want, or any part that you're comfortable with.
Sure, I'm Daria.
And I'm okay putting this on YouTube?
Yeah, it's fine.
So,
Media.
what are you doing here in Zuccotti Park?
I'm here, I'm actually participating in my local Occupy in El Paso, Texas. And I'm here, but I'm from New York, and I'm here to participate, to find out what's going on, learn more, and to hopefully bring back some lessons to the local Occupy too.
So how long have you been here?
About a week.
And how long were you in Texas before that? I mean,
About a week too.
Involved in this stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so can I ask a couple of devil's advocate questions?
Sure, yeah.
So what do you think of the idea that you're enjoying the fruits of capitalism? You know, you commute from Texas to here. You know, you're enjoying, nice tents by big corporations and so on. And yet there seems to be sort of an anti-business, anti-capitalist slant to the meetings. Do you find a problem with that? Or you see anything unusual about that? Or how do you make that mesh?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you just look at it in terms of what folks here are consuming, whether it's where they're sleeping, what they're eating, how they travel, anything like that, I think you're really missing the point. I think consumerism and what you consume and products are just a part of capitalism. And I actually don't think that taking it to that individual level always and saying that my political participation is based on what I buy and what I consume, I don't think that that's actually what political action is about. And I think it's all too easy to look at folks, and too contradictory too, fraught with contradiction, to look at folks and equate their political position or their political participation with what they buy. Where I live in Texas, it's not possible to buy fair trade or to ride in public transit. And poor folks eat food made by corporations and sleep in houses that are owned by banks and, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think equating who you are and where you stand politically with what you buy is a really, it's oversimplified and it actually doesn't reflect.
So would you say you're anti-business or anti-corporate, or are you more pro-reform? I mean, how would you describe what you're trying to accomplish?
Well, in terms of what I'm trying to accomplish and what I would want is a society that actually prioritizes human rights and the notion of social justice over profit. And I think that to the extent that markets can exist with that, I think that that's something that I'd be comfortable with. What I'm not comfortable with is a society that places profit over and above values of folks being able to flourish to their full human capability and to be able to enjoy full lives, which I think is the kind of society that we live in now.
Well, if we say that profit is one person agreeing to pay somebody else for something that the buyer is enjoying or appreciating or valuing, then that seems to benefit both parties. But other exchanges like corporate welfare seems to be taking money from some people to give it to corporations against their will. So are you against things like giving money, tax money to corporations for whatever project they have, be it banks or green energy or whatever? In other words, you see...
look, I would actually back up from what you're saying and look at the whole picture in a broader way, right? We live in a society that does not provide free, universal, equitable education to all of its members. It doesn't do the same for healthcare. It doesn't do the same for jobs that are dignified, for labor. It doesn't do the same for any one of our economic and social rights. And increasingly our political and civil rights are compromised by large corporations and institutions that answer to those corporations. So I would actually back up from any one transaction and look at the whole picture of the kind of society that we're living in and who it allows to live a full life and who it doesn't.
Well, if you're talking about the government providing not only all of people's services, education, healthcare, etc., but their very employment.
That's right.
You're talking about a government-run economy, aren't you, at that point?
Well, I didn't say the government would need to provide all jobs.
Okay.
That's certainly not what I'm saying. But I certainly am saying that it is the responsibility of government to protect people in terms of having dignified workplaces and dignified professions. And that is something that is currently not the case. That's certainly.
Like, give me an example. What do you think what concerns you?
For example, the construction industry. For example, the placement of undocumented laborers in markets that demand their labor but then don't protect them in terms of their civil and political rights or their economic and social rights.
So that's a problem of sort of the...
Look at the informal economy. So much of what you're sitting in right now in the financial district is run on an informal economy. Folks are not actually, they don't have the privilege to work in certain jobs that afford them health care, other benefits, and so on. I mean, what we're sitting in, even ourselves, is we're sitting in and among markets that don't protect people and don't give them what they need at all.
Well, there seems to be two things going on. There seems to be legal barriers to working in an economy, like immigration restrictions and so on, and laws that require people to get, insane licensing requirements to cut hair or whatever. So that seems to be part of
Maybe
it.
you could turn that off. We could just have a conversation.
Oh.
Just you and I, like.
Well, that's fine, but I mean, I think it's useful for people to know. I mean, it's one thing for me to hear. It's one thing for other people to hear.
I know, but I mean, it's,
okay. If you're finished talking,
yeah,
then that's fine.
I think I'm done.
Do you have a wrap up sort of concluding message?
You could ask me another question.
I mean, what do you hope to see come out of this particular movement, and how long do you plan to be active in it?
I think that a lot of what I've hoped has already been accomplished. I think that in my lifetime, and among folks in my generation, we've never experienced something that was so politicized in our mainstream lives, And I think that the fact that our society could have genuine public political conversations in public space, I think it's really reignited a new discourse and a new way of talking among one another among a broad swath of American society, and not just in terms of the public space, but in terms of what the media is covering and then how it seeps into other ways of life. And I think for my generation, we have not experienced that kind of thing. And I'll be out here, in New York or in Texas, however long it happens, and participating and trying to contribute.
Okay, thanks a lot.